How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again, time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination all cranked up, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Sydney Hanson. If you're not familiar with her work, check right over here. She is a wonderful concept artist and creature designer, illustrator, just extraordinary talent. I really love her imagination. I feel like she comes up with these really cute and adorable creatures that remind me of kind of a cutesy vintage Disney. There's almost a little bit of a Mary Blair feel in her work as well that I'm just really drawn to and I think is phenomenal. So definitely check out more work from her. I will throw a link in the description below. But I did want to share a quote with you guys from her that I found in an interview she did, and it was, no matter what medium one is using, a strong concept is crucial. And I think that kind of goes to something that we've talked about here before in the channel, and that's that you have to kind of get past this hurdle, and it takes a while, and no one's ever 100% perfect about it. But you know, if you're a sculptor, you have to learn the basics of sculpting, and if you're an animator, you have to learn the basics of Maya, or the basics of how to flip pages, or you know, different timing and different structures and all this stuff that, while it's sort of creative, it's not really the creative process. It's kind of the in-between, and I think it goes with yourself too, because your imagination can come up with these really cool things. I was listening to something a little bit ago talking about how in dreams, when you dream, you can think fully through and represent things correctly. Like if you dream that you saw your friend, it wasn't like the perspective was off on your friend. Your brain knows how to do this stuff and knows how to recreate things. You just have to try and get it so that your body can do what it already kind of knows how to do. And so it's about learning and pushing through the obstacles and the hindrances, and learning the tools that you can to help recreate the stuff that you imagine. And like I said, it doesn't really matter what the medium is, like Sydney's talking about here, but it's about the concept or the imagination or the idea behind it that you want to come across with. I think it's really important to not get bogged down with you know, which technique or which tool or anything, but really just keep trying to make that line between your imagination to out into the world as clean and as clear as you can get, and try to have the least amount of interference that you can between the two. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into some animation. This is the rigged fox rig. It's a free character that you can grab and play around with over at Creative Crash, and I'll throw a link in the description below if you guys want to try it out for yourself. And if you're not familiar with what we'll be doing for the rest of the video, so we give ourselves 48 frames, 2 seconds of animation, and go off and I find a rig that I've never used before. It's a free resource for you guys to play around with as well, and we kind of go from there. A little bit of over the shoulder, hang out with me while I animate, a little bit of talking through the process, or talking about you know, things relevant to the creative and imaginative world in general. And overall, the main goal of doing these videos is to hopefully encourage you guys, inspire you to go off and create something of your own each and every day, so you're taking another step in your journey to help bring those imaginations to life. So that being said, let's go ahead and delve in here. So for this one, I was thinking we'd do a little trepidation, or scared or frightened, kind of a walk backwards here. So I'd want to arch the back right here. Let's make sure that we turn everything off except for our NURB curves, our NURB surfaces, and our polygons. And let's go ahead and rotate that down a little bit. And let's rotate the head up a little bit. And let's dip the neck down, actually. And let's rotate that this way. This down a little bit. We have to be careful. We've got a couple different controllers that we can use, so we got to be careful that we're not using too many different ones here, because as you can see, there's a main hip cog and then kind of a or main cog and then a hip cog. So So I gotta be cautious of that. I am going to use them while I'm crafting the pose, but then when I'm animating, I'll probably just stick to using one of them. And again, let's rotate that back. Let's try to pull this up a little bit more if we can. Just trying to get that nice arch in the back. And let's push the feet, the back feet apart a little bit more. We might need to create a new layer and hide that ground plane there. And let's push those far apart here. Tail would go up. Do we actually have a rotate? Or do we just have a translate? It's kind of strange. I think that would be a rotation, but that's okay. We'll work with what we got here. Bring it in this way. This one, I'll bring it up again and translate it forward, but evidently not too much or else it breaks there. So let's bring that back. Try and make it look as smooth as we can there. The legs. Okay, let's go ahead and push these ones back so we can do a little bit of walk, and they're going to be slower steps and smaller steps. And let's push the back legs wider a little bit more here. And let's also kind of give them a little bit of pigeon-toedness to them. Just rotate them inward a little bit because they might be a little bit hesitant. And let's drop the ears. Or should we perk the ears up? Let's really make the ears more alert. I was thinking droop them, but I think instead we'll perk them up so they're extra alert for those. And eyebrows, let's go ahead and go a little bit up, higher. What about the eyes themselves? Could open them up a little bit more. I want it to look angry, so let's see if we can open the bottom lids a little more. And go ahead and close that mouth. Now what's this controller here? Don't really do too much. Okay. Yeah, what about the tips of the ears? Let's poke them out a little bit. Alright, I feel like that's fairly good. Got a little bit of S throughout the body. Okay, so let's go ahead and save our file. We are using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video, and let's go ahead and set our frame range. We're just going to go from 0 to 48, and we're not going to cycle this one. We're actually going to make walk back, so a little bit different approach here. So let's go ahead and again make sure we just have NURB curves, NURB surfaces, and polygons selected. We're going to go ahead and grab everything and go to frame 0 and set our first key. And then let's start with the feet here, get those locked in. Let's go with 13 frames for this, a little bit slower. And just vary up our timing so we get something a little bit different here. Back there. And probably could go a little bit more. Kind of looking at the spacing between this spacing between those 2 feet and trying to make sure there's about the same over here. And let's go ahead and pull that back. I gotta be careful, we're getting probably not contacting enough there, but I'll worry about that in a little bit. And then let's go ahead and grab the next step here, we'll set those ones there, and then we'll go 26. Might have to go a little bit lower, just overall on the body, just to make sure those feet stay planted. Okay, and then we'll grab the other feet here and set those, and then we'll go, what, 39? Back there. Bring that back. So don't want it to be too slow, but I do want it to be a little bit slower than it normally would be. And then what's 13 frames from that? 52. Is that right? 39 plus 13, 52. Yeah, should be about right. We'll grab these guys. And again, we want to make sure we lock them in at 39 and then bring them back there. And bring those hips back again. Okay, let's go ahead and just play that. Let's go a little bit lower just overall in the hips. So let's open up our graph editor here and look at our translate Y. And we're just gonna push that down a little bit just so those feet don't pull off the ground. They can stay planted. See, like right here, getting a little bit of pull off. So I think we're gonna need to go even a little bit lower than that. Okay. And let's look at our translate Z. That's going to be the movement from screen right to screen left, and let's make that a constant so there's not so many hitches in there. And if we left it like this, it would slow out of that first pose and do a decent amount of movement, and then slow into the last. And we want it to be a constant amount of movement, so we're just gonna tilt these handles a little bit here, so it's a smooth amount of movement in between there. Let's go ahead and watch that again. Now, this one in particular, I'm getting that pop out, so I want to pull that back just a little bit more. Let's see now. And this one as well. I think we need to go a little bit further back. Not a whole lot. Otherwise, we're just getting that little bit of pop out. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. It's starting to come along, and let's get our up and downs here. And remember, this is a different variation of our timing, so I want to keep that in mind here. So we'll go down on 6 frames in, and up on 13. So we have 6 frames here, and then 7 frames there. So 6 frames here, 7 frames there, 6 frames here, 7 frames there, 6 frames here, and then 7 frames there. So let's see that. Alright, and let's clean that up a little bit more. I think we have a couple that are a little too high for what I want, which is causing some poppiness in the legs. So let's clean that up a little bit more. And let's see here. We could probably even go slower, but I kind of like playing around with 13s for today. So let's start building in those passing positions. So let's go ahead and key everything we have again. Just hitting S on our keyboard so we make sure we lock in all the different attributes here. And then let's go at 7 frames here. I'll go ahead and lift that up. And then 7 frames again here. And we'll lift that up. And by just switching our timing and giving us 1 extra frame, we're going to be able to play around with our timing a little bit more, which will be nice. So we're going to lift that up and bring that down. And 7 frames here, which would be 33. Go lift that up and bring that down. And go here. So let's see. I think I want lower steps in the front, so let's look at the translate Y's on those. And we're going to grab both of them, and we're going to kind of balance them out a little bit more. And also I said lower overall, so let's just scrunch those down. Not a whole lot, but a little bit more. And let's go hit it frame 4, and we'll rotate it down there. And then at 11, and we'll flip it up. And so what was that, 4 frames in? We'll drag it, and then 2 frames from the contact, and we'll lift it up there. So it should look a little more precise. Okay. And I think that first one felt a little heavy, so let's see. Let's look at that rotate X here. And obviously we over-exaggerated it a little bit more in that first one, so it feels a little heavier. Let's check that out. Maybe it's just too much overall. Let's just do a little bit of that. Okay, and let's look at the other foot here. And let's do a similar thing. So we'll go 4 frames here. And we'll drag it back. And then 2 frames from landing and lift it up. Go down. And then 4 frames back. We'll drag it there. And 2 frames from landing, we'll lift it up. Let's see. And again, let's go ahead and scale back that landing a little bit more right before there. Yeah, let's grab both of them and kind of compare. Make sure they feel pretty balanced in between. Which I do. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, so let's look at that again. Okay, and let's look at the back feet and just do a little bit of drag there. Drag there. And let's look at the other one. And we'll do a little bit of drag here. And a little bit of drag there. Let's see. This one still feels like it snaps too much when it goes here. Where is it? I think it's there. So let's look at that translate Z, and again we'll pull it in a little bit more. Okay, and let's start doing a little bit of side to side of the hips now. I feel like the feet are okay. Might go back and tweak them a little bit more. So we'll go at 7 here, and we'll push the hips over the planted foot. And then at 20, and over there, and 33. Just trying to vary up the timing a little bit more on this than we usually can with sticking to 12s. Take advantage of using 13 frames per step on this one, so we can add a little more variety and mix up our walk from our usual kind of basic starting formula. And that's the cool thing about timing. Just by varying stuff by 1 frame or 2 frames, you can really add a different flavor to your stuff. Alright, and we'll go ahead and do a little bit of rotate Z here, just to favor that planted foot. And there as well, there as well, there as well. And zero it out. And let's clean those up as well. Doesn't have to be exactly even, but just so there's not one side that's really being favored over the other. Okay, and let's do a little bit of rotate Y here to favor the front planted foot. There. And we're obviously going to have to do some counter animation in the front, in the chest there, so that it's not so wibbly wobbly, and I'm also going to tone it down as well. So let's look at the rotate Y, and let's just do a little bit of that. Okay, let's see that now. Alright, now let's start getting into the chest here. So this one I think I'll do at 6s instead of on 7s, so I'll go ahead and rotate here. And then what was it, 13, so that'd be 19 there. And then 26 plus 6 would be 33, right? And 32. And 39 plus 6 would be 45, bringing it back. And then 0 it out again. So this is a little bit different timing. We're going to have the back hips pretty much go on 7s and the front ones really go on 6s, so we get a little variety there. Okay, and we'll do a little bit of rotate Y to favor that front planted foot there. And then 13, that one, and 26, that one, 39, that one, and 52, we'll go that one. Okay, now I think I'm going to neuter that a lot, so we'll scale it back. I like not having, I've been doing cycles so much lately, I'm so thinking that I have to revert back to the original frame, but it's nice to be able to animate the other way. Okay, it's starting to work, and let's look at our translate here as well. So we'll push the hips over that planted foot there, 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 and let's zero it out again. Okay, and let's look at that translate X. And we'll bring that back, and we haven't saved for a while, so let's go ahead and save our file here. And let's go ahead and see how we're doing. Now we're going to have to get into the neck now because the head's moving way too much. So here we want to rotate this in Z, there, 6, and then 13, so 19, we'll go this way. What is it, buddy? And 26, 33, you're fine. 45, and then we'll zero it out again. Let's see if that worked. A little bit. Okay. Still feels way over the top. I don't want a lot of movement in the head there. So let's keep playing with it here. Feels okay there. So maybe we'll just keep it focused here. Let's zero it out. Let's see. Here we go. It feels a little better. Go ahead, go play. more sway in there. Okay. And let's look at the middle section here. Let's go 5 frames and we'll go up. And 13 frames from now will be 18. We'll go down. No, I need to do this on 6s and 7s, right? So let's just keep it with 6 and then 7. And then if I want to tweak it, I'll just move it forward or back in the timeline a frame or 2. And then 7 and 6 and 7 and 6, 7. So let's see. And then I want to push it so that it's right about here. There we go. And what I have between here and 7 frames there, and 6 frames there, and 7 frames here. And bring that down. And let's clean that up as well. Okay. That way we still have a variation in our frames, but it's moving at a different timing than the front and the back here are. So let's see how that feels. Kind of loosens up a little bit more. Okay, it definitely feels a little too high up here, so let's take those and scale it back a little bit more. Let's see. And we could probably accentuate the down a little bit more as well. So let's grab all those and pull them down a little bit more. And let's go ahead and go at 4, and we'll rotate the head up. And then 6 frames from here, down, 7 frames up, 6 frames down, 7 frames up, 6 frames down, 7 frames up, 6 frames down, and then back again. Let's see how that feels. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I don't like that. We'll see. Feels like there's some jerkiness since I counter animated that in the head, and I don't want that, but I didn't really like how bobby the head was when we did the middle section, so we'll have to see here. Let's see. Alright, let's invert it. Go the opposite way here. Also tone it down. It feels too groovy, and that's not the feel I'm really going for. No, we want it to still go up, but just a little bit. So maybe we just have to tweak it just a little bit. Too much up. So let's scale that back. Still too much movement overall in there, so let's crank it up. See if we can really try and kill it. There we go. A little bit less. I want to try and keep that focused forward a little bit more. And let's look at the tail. Let's see if we can do some side to side here. Let's go 7. I'll translate it over. Maybe we'll have to grab the whole thing. Let's see what we can do. 7 frames there. And then 13 frames from that would be 20, so over there. And then 13 frames from that would be 33 over there. And then 49, 9, and then back to 0. Let's see how that feels. Again, I kind of want to keep the tail toned down. Now let's see. It's 10. At 10, we'll swing it over. And at 23, we'll swing it back. And 36, we'll swing it over. Because we want it a little bit delayed from the movement of the bottom of the tail. And then 9, we'll bring it back. Over again. Let's see. Okay, and let's look at the tip of the tail here. Oh, did I already do this portion? I guess I did. Maybe we just need to do this one. And then here, at 11, we'll bring it over, so it'll go. And then 24, we'll bring it back that way. And 37, bring it this way. And 50, bring it that way. And then back again. Do you kind of feel like we need to break this up a little bit more? So maybe we'll put it at 6 and we'll bring it this way. And let's just move our timing up so it's at 6, breaks this way. But we'll invert it here. Let's see. It's way over exaggerated, but let's see. No. Let's flip it back. Let's see. And maybe we'll take this one and we'll move this one to what timing did I have that start on? 10, so I'll have that be like a 9. Here we go. And then maybe we'll tone this one down a little bit more so that end of the tail feels more exaggerated. Let's see. Okay, and let's try and do a little bit of up and down on the tail as well. So let's go at 5, we'll have it go up. not really working. It would be better if there was a rotate, but unfortunately there isn't. So let's see. Let's try inverting it and doing less of it. See if that'll loosen it up a little bit more. I feel like the timing's okay, but let's see. Maybe we could go 5 here and translate it back. And then forward at 12. And then, so that'd be 7, so this would be 6 frames. And then 7 frames would be 25. And then 6 frames would be 31. And then 38. 44. 51. And then back again. Okay, it's too much, but it's starting to feel a little more loose. Just so that from the kind of side angle, we can feel a little more movement in the tail, even though we have the side to side going. Side to side doesn't always come across very well in it. More of a flat angle like this. Alright, yeah, let's see if we can do a blink in the eyes here. Do a double blink, close it again, and open it again here. Here we want to overshoot, close, open it again, close, then open it again. Let's see. It's too long in between them. We want it to be quick. So let's cut 2 frames out from there. 1 frame on either side there. Let's see. And let's hold this one for an extra frame. And give us another frame then in between, just to vary the timing a little bit. And maybe it's held for too long. Let's see. And we'll start off here, and we'll kind of hold this for a little bit. And then we overshoot up, blink down. Again, let's keep that closed. Up, down, and then set that and go here. Okay, let's see that again. Okay, and let's see about the eyebrows here. And we can do a little bit of eyebrow as well. So we're about 13. That will go up. Again, that's way too much, so let's scale that back here just a little bit. And there we want it down. Let's see if we can do a little bit of maybe tremble, quiver in here. Could probably amp that up a little bit more. Let's see. Just so we have a little bit of quiver in there. And that can be kind of jerky, that's okay. We just want a little. Now, I do feel like we might be doing too much. I don't really like how broken those ankles are. Bones are on that part, so I'm going to tone that down a little bit more. Let's see if there's actually like a toe tap controller or something here. There we go. Because we can just do some of that there. So let's go 13, we'll set that there. 19, we'll drag that. 26, we'll lift it up. Go 2 frames, and then we'll 0 it. And then 39, we'll go ahead and set that again. And what did I do? 6 frames? So 45, we'll go ahead and just drag that down there a little bit. And we'll lift it up a little bit there as well. That feels a little better. Try to keep that foot feeling a little bit softer. So let's do, go 6 frames here, we'll drag that down, and 13 we'll lift it, give me 2 frames, and we'll 0 it out again, and we'll hold that, key it there, and then go 6 frames where we drag it down, 39 we'll lift it up, 2 frames, so we get that little plant. Let's go and watch those toes again in the front. So they feel a little more. You can probably tone it down a little bit. So let's look at the rotate X's again. And we'll just scale it back a little bit more. Just feel a little over the top here. Let's see. And let's look at the back feet here. Let's go and set that one, and then let's go 7. And I just want this tip here. And we'll rotate it down there. And at 13, we'll lift it up. 2 frames, and we'll 0 that out. I think I'll push that forward 1 frame. So it's actually 12. Just to vary up the timing a little bit. Again, we'll key that one, and then I think we said 7 frames here. So 33, go ahead and drag it there. And then 38, we'll lift it up. And at 40, we'll 0 it out. Just so the timing on the toe is a little bit different from the front foot as well. Again, we'll go ahead and save our file here. Remember to save multiple versions and to save often. And we'll set that, go 7 frames from there, so that'd be 20. We'll drag that back. And then at 25, we'll lift it up. And 27, we'll 0 it out. And 39, we'll key that. 7 frames from there, 46, we'll drag it back, and then a 51, we'll lift it up, and a little bit lower. So let's look at that. And let's kind of compare the two. I feel like one of them's a little over-exaggerated, so I'm sure we'll find that here in our graph editor. It's probably this guy here. It's Doesn't have to be exactly even, but we want to find a good balance there. And last one there. Okay. And let's look at the ears. Let's do a little bit of rotate on them. It'll let me select it here. There we go. And let's go at 5 frames and we'll rotate them down. And then 7 frames and back up. That's 7 frames, that's 6. We want to go here. That's 7 there. And 6 there. And 7 there. And 6 here. 7 here. And back a little bit. Let's see. Feels like it could be about 2 frames later. So let's see. Oh god, we'll leave that. Okay, and let's look at these guys. There. If it'll let me grab both of these, we'll break up the ear movement a little bit more. So we'll go at like 4. And we'll rotate them back here. And then 6 frames from there, we'll go down, and 7 frames back, and 6 frames. Would put me at 23. Back would be 30, and 36, and 43, and 49, and then back. And I might need to invert this, so we'll see. Actually, it feels pretty good. Just want to go more on the downswing and less on the up. And also minimize the movement a little bit more as well. So again, we want more down and less up here. Let's see. And then I think we just need to tone it down overall. So bring that back down and that back down. Let's see. And let's just tone down the bases of the ears a little bit more as well. It's pretty close though. I like how they were working. So let's see. Now we do have these little side cheek things. I'm not sure I really want to do anything with them, but we'll play around, we'll see. So let's go at 5 and we'll do a little bit of rotate. Oh, that'd be something I could try with forward and back. That might be different. I was thinking up and down, but maybe forward and back would feel good. So let's try that. See if they both work the same way. And they don't, of course not. Let's do a little forward. Then a little bit back. And 6 frames. And 7 frames. 6 frames. And 7 frames. 6 frames. Math, kids, it's always helpful, especially when doing any work in Maya or animating in general. It should be about 2 frames later, I think. And less back. Actually, let's just minimize it overall. It's just too busy. And just do a teeny bit of this. Just to loosen it up here. There we go. That's probably enough. too busy. So again, we'll scale it back. This is just to loosen up the face. It doesn't really need to be there, but since we've got a controller there, yeah, you can use it. But you got to be careful about what you do with each and every controller. You don't want to do it just because the controller's there. But if you got them, they usually can help loosen stuff up. So I think that'll do it for this one. Kind of like how this is. We'll probably spend another hour or so cleaning it up and tightening it up a little bit more. But I think overall the idea comes across. So let's take a look back at where we start. We're looking at the beautiful work of Sydney Hanson, and she said, no matter what medium one is using, a strong concept is crucial. Another point I wanted to talk about with this one is the concept actual portion, and that's that in those days where I'm just kind of playing around with stuff and I don't really have an idea in mind, sometimes I can come across with stuff that I wouldn't necessarily think of just by playing through the medium, so that's definitely fun to do. But usually on the days where I'm like, I know what I want to do, I want to do this, this, and this, I want it to look this way, I want it to have this kind of a color scheme, I want this kind of a pose, and I can really build the image really in my mind before I even sit down at the drawing table, or before I sit down and animating, and I really have a strong concept with what to do, then it seems to work better as well. But it's creativity, and if you're trying to do this and push yourself forward, those days aren't always going to happen. So sometimes you have to just play around with the medium and see where it takes you, and just get those hours in studying and focusing and pushing yourself each and every day. So I love you guys lots. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys learned something, or at least got encouraged or inspired to go off and create your own stuff. And remember, if you're watching this, you guys are the creative future, so keep pushing yourself and keep striving each and every day to learn and to grow and to just enjoy it overall. And I think that'll do it for today. So that being said, we'll see you for some more animation tomorrow.